Who's out of my...
Smell of perfume! I'm gonna blow your head off!
I was starting to feel a little bit disenfranchised with action stuff when I was watching action cinema, and too much was blowing up and it was too big, and I didn't feel engaged in it anymore. And when I look back at the 70s movies or even out into the mid-80s, that wasn't a problem.
Ben was willing to step out on a ledge and go, I'm going to make a movie like they used to make movies, that like they don't make movies anymore. I'm going to give it to people because I'm trusting that they'll get it and that they'll enjoy it.
You really feel like you're in the 70s. You know, the wash and the colours and the, you know, the look is of those films that you really hanker for, you know, the Serpicos and the Peckinpahs and that era that I really loved.
Well, we all grew facial hair. I mean, everybody, I think there was 11 moustaches on set. It's a decade, the 70s, that's very easy to immerse yourself in.
It's retro in every sense, you know. It's sort of a nod to the 70s kind of action films, and in one way. On a deeper level, I think it's kind of, you know, an example of the male unchecked ego. It really is, you know. It's the ultimate example of what can go wrong in a bar fight.
Vern, these are the boys from across the pond.
Well, everyone's from somewhere, eh? Justine, how you talk? As gorgeous as ever.
What's that accent? Oh, I think it's like Swiss or something. Austrian. Oh, that's Austrian.
My character Chris and Michael Smiley's character Frank are kind of like the two IRA operatives who were sent. Well, we sort of assume they're IRA. It's not really stated, but they're sent to America to buy guns, and they meet this sort of go-between, which is played by Brie Larson, and then it sort of becomes like these two factions trying to do this deal in a very tense environment, and then inevitably something goes horrendously wrong, and fisticuffs and gunfight ensues.
I'd been talking to Cillian Murphy, or he'd contacted me through his agent, and we went out for a drink together, which is always nice, you know. The actors are interested in what I'm up to, so I had a drink with him, and I thought, oh yeah, all right.
I basically pursued Ben and just, you know, petitioned him to be in one of his films, and luckily he very graciously wrote this role with me in mind. So he had this idea that me and Michael would be this kind of double act.
Cillian's character is very, you know, new money. You know, he's late 60s, early 70s, sexy young lad, you know what I mean? So he would have been the charm of the group, and I would have been the quiet guy standing in the back, just making sure the gun was okay and smiling, and just, you know, somebody was going to get it, and I was going to be the first to give it to them.
What did you order?
We ordered M16s. We've ordered them. Now this is an AR-70. Different weapon. It's not what I ordered.
To teach your boys some manners. Learn a thing or two from the English. I'm not running a pizza delivery service. You want the weapons or you don't want the weapons?
We shot it in a warehouse, in one sort of open space. And if Ben decided, you know, this shot is actually much better if I face my camera over here. Uh-oh. Okay, who are we gonna see over there? Okay, I need Babu, I need Bree, I need Smiley, and then when I do the reverse, who do I need over there? Okay, I'm gonna need Sharlto and Cillian and Armie over there. So every morning they would call all of us in, like first thing in the morning. It was never, no one was like, oh, you don't have to come in till lunchtime or anything like that, because they never knew what was gonna happen. It was so fluid the way we were shooting it. So we would all come in every single day and just hang out.
The atmosphere was just so loose and easygoing, and that comes from the top. I mean, that comes from Ben and Amy and Andy Stark, his producer. You just didn't want to go home. You just wanted to hang around. It was a very familial, kind of healthy environment.
It was almost like doing a play. We didn't work with stand-ins, so even if it was, you know, your legs were going to be seen in the background of someone else's shot, you had to be available all the time. And so we would spend a lot of time off camera together. So it was an amazing sort of feeling of camaraderie and a lot of, you know, sort of banter off screen, a lot of competitive banter going on.
You know, it was a massive building, so you had the place where we were shooting. Then outside of that was these other empty rooms that we all chipped together and bought because we're filming beside an Argos, so we went and bought table tennis tables. So we had a competition going on and a dartboard, and there was a Spotify playlist. So everything was all self-contained, you know what I mean? So the whole thing, yeah, you'd be crawling around the dirt for a while, but you can go and play table tennis in a minute, you know, and you would come back and you'd be back into your character again. But everything I remember from working with Ben is this: you don't walk away unless you're sent away, because you want to be part of it.
Here we go. God damn it. Oh, now we're cooking.
Every bullet hit on every surface has to be decided about 3 months before you make the film. So you can't just make it up. It has to be, you know, every moment of it planned. And then I also figured that to hold a space, hold every character in a space like that, the storytelling would have to be about very small missions and goals and achieving them or not achieving them, and how that branching dynamic situation could unfurl.
Public safety announcement: while the rifle's hot, I'm going to pull my pistol out. Nothing personal. I've done several other projects before where I've had to have training with guns, so I was able to sort of take that prior training and say, well, maybe Ord knows how to hold a gun in a proper tactical way, or maybe Ord knows how to quickly reload, or things like that, which helped inform the character and give it different dynamics. And just those little bits of detail and texture that you can give a character, I think, are really helpful.
What affected me in this film, and I think affects a lot of people, and that sort of surprised me, was acting with earplugs in a lot. Because once we start shooting, like once you get to the end of the first act, the rest of the film is just literally every time you're on camera, they're shooting. And so you're sitting with earplugs and you're trying to do a performance where you can't hear yourself properly. So that actually, from an acting point of view, was the most challenging.
Gunfire sounds so loud that it hurts you. And there's no, and you know, in the bandwidth of sound that we deal with in cinema, if you did it properly, you would then be deaf from the first gunshot and you wouldn't hear anything again for the rest of the film.
I think the great thing about must be for Ben is that people, because since Down Terrace and since Kill List and Sightseers, and you know, there's a head of steam that now the word's out, people want to work with them. So when the actors turn up, they turn up with a sense of excitement that they're going to be working with him, and he writes and Amy write in such a way that it's a beautifully fitted suit that you put on.
My agents raved about Ben so much from what they'd heard from other actors. They said, listen, every actor who's ever worked with this guy is like, if you ever get the chance, just go for it. And I was like, wow, that's quite a strong sort of endorsement. That's a lot to live up to. He works in a very actor-friendly way in the sense that he shoots fast. He lets them go, you know, he lets you go. If you have ideas, he lets you do them, whether he's going to use them or not. He just keeps the energy going. And a film like this is a character movie, I think, more than anything else. He just casts people to do the job and lets you do it.
Amy and I both tried to make movies that are different from each other every time, and then we inevitably make the same film again and again. So there's definitely elements of it, elements of Down Terraces, elements of Field in England in this, really, I think, except for without psychedelic drugs in the middle of it. But it's not a dissimilar film in many ways, and it's not dissimilar to High Rise, you know. But you know, I think that limitation of, you know, that bracket that you catch the characters in and you squeeze them through it is, you know, I always enjoy those kinds of movies, you know. So it's, you know, it's going back to thinking about what, you know, a lot of the John Carpenter films are like that. And a lot of the Howard Hawks movies are like that as well. So it's, you know, it's just going back to the source, really.